Excellent. Well, people will roll in and we'll get started here. My name is Jeremy Fojut. I am the co-founder of NEWaukee. We are on our Cloud Cafe platform where we're hosting about 6 to 10 programs a week, a lot of different conversations. Every Friday at noon, we are hosting something called the MentorSHOP, profiling different executives and leaders in the community that are making change, have great stories to tell, and can offer some leadership advice. I'm super excited to have
I just had one
Jeff Peterson
thing
here
quick.
today.
Just piggyback.
And he's from the CEO of Geneva Supply, and we had a little bit of a conversation preluding to this event, really around his story, and it's just kind of fascinating how he started this company. And I'll let Jeff kind of introduce himself and then tell that story. So why don't we start there, Jeff? Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody that's actually taking the time to Zoom, so to speak, or Facebook Live it. But I am Jeff Peterson, the co-founder, CEO of Geneva Supply. Geneva Supply, just as a company itself, we are a company that handles manufacturers from any industry out there that has a product that wants to be sold on the e-commerce platform. And when I say e-commerce, clearly the majority of that business is Amazon. Because if you take the top 20 e-commerce platforms, Amazon being number one, and you add up 2 through 20 and you add it all up, they're still not as big as Amazon. So the majority of our business is obviously still Amazon. So we're very Amazon focused. We have 3 logistics facilities. We have our corporate headquarters and our largest facilities in Delvin, Wisconsin. And we have a location in Charleston, South Carolina, and also Phoenix, Arizona. So we're able to store and warehouse inventory and handle the e-commerce platform as well as brick and mortar. But our strength has always been in the beginning of kind of understanding and knowing that e-commerce platform, the strategies, the content, understanding the consumer, and to be able to drive sales and grow sales. So we've been around as Geneva Supply for about 10.5 years. And as far as our experience goes, myself and my business partner, Mark Becker, we've been doing business with Amazon for the last 14.5 years. So prior to that, we were doing Amazon business at a previous company, and we tried to buy that company. We got 4 investors, tried to buy them out, and we thought it was going to happen. And then in the last minute, we were supposed to close on a Tuesday morning, and Monday night at 8 o'clock, the deal went south. So we ended up not buying the company. We walked into work that day and got fired. So we were officially unemployed. And thought we were going to be owners of a company and making things happen. And so we started from scratch. 7 out of the 8 of those employees from that company followed us. We started in a 10,000 square foot airplane hangar 10.5 years ago with no business whatsoever. We went to Best Buy and bought laptops. We went to Sprint and got cell phones. And that night we figured out the name Geneva Supply. And here we are now 10.5 years later.
Can you just talk about the first month when you started a company with no company?
Yeah,
what that was like?
Yeah, it was. If anybody's understands or is as old as I am that knows the movie Jerry Maguire, where he goes and grabs that goldfish and says, "Who's coming with me?" It was very different because everybody said, "We're coming with you." It wasn't like who's coming. So they wanted to come with. So we hired people before we had business, just because we had the confidence that we were going to grow because of the past business we were doing, and we knew we needed the expertise. So we went for it. But there's, it all came down to the partnerships and the friendships and the fact that we knew how to service and get things done for the people at Amazon. So Amazon really took us under their wing. As far as the divisions and the departments that we were working with, because they knew what we could do, and they knew that we were an important part of onboarding new brands that were still looking at Amazon as really taboo, because brick and mortar was really saying, if you sell to Amazon, we're not going to do business with you anymore. And manufacturers knew that they had to stick their toe into this new platform, but they were nervous about it. So they used Geneva Supply in a lot of cases as kind of that buffer, so that they could say they weren't selling direct to Amazon, but really we were handling it for them and managing that whole side of business. So it was scary because we literally had nothing. And our first item was the GE MWF refrigerator filter. because that was the number one seller in the home improvement department. And the buyer said, Jeff, if you can get me this, I'll buy it from you to help you get some cash flow. And I was buying that product from all over the country by truckloads and trying to get the best price I could. So it was literally scrambling to try to hit cash flow versus actually proactively and productively building a business. So ours was really different than a person having this really cool business plan because we thought we were going to buy the business. Mm-hmm. So we knew what we wanted to do, but we were thrown into something without, having the time to build it from scratch.
So can you talk, this is the mentorship, so it's about leadership. And I'm sure there's on this call and on the Facebook Live, there's people that are maybe aspiring entrepreneurs or starting something. Tell us, we're always told to have a business plan and everything, that's better to do. Obviously, it sounds like you didn't have I didn't have a business plan at the beginning, and a lot of people don't. Can you talk about that and the differences and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and tell anybody that having a business plan is a waste of time. There would be a whole lot of people that would totally discredit me immediately if I made that bold statement. But I will say this, when anybody is starting a business, now it does depend on what it is, but if anybody's starting a business, the most important thing is to just have the flow of what your purpose is. And honestly, making sure that you're doing something that's unique and different in the way that you're going to do it. Being a me too in today's world, it's really expensive. It's really expensive to get people to know you. It's really expensive for people to find you. So unless you have something to brand or market yourself differently, I think that's the most important thing when coming up with your idea and coming up with your concept. More important than the business plan is what's your purpose and what makes you different. And let's face it, when you go for a loan or go to talk to somebody that you say, hey, I need money, they're going to tell you exactly what they need from you to have the confidence. So the most important thing for you, if you're looking at starting a business, is really think through your concept and really ask people that you don't know what they think of it, not your friends and family. It's like American Idol, man. The people that tell these people that they can sing. I mean, are you serious? That's the same thing with a business. It's like, don't go to the people that are going to say, oh, we're so proud of you. Oh, this is such a great idea. You're so entrepreneurial. And that's keeping a lot of people, afloat in their own heads when they really don't have a prayer.
Before we get into more like kind of leadership-esque questions, one of our conversations leading up to this was really about what you do in the community. That was just so refreshing, I think, to hear that your business is business, but it's more than that. And can you talk about BizTank and all the other things you're doing? I just found it really inspiring.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, because if there's one thing that Geneva Supply is as a company is we're more passionate about the people at Geneva Supply and the people that make Geneva Supply and our partners, the people that we do business with. The financial side comes, the money side comes. And if you're running a company correctly, you get profits. And if you're not, you figure out, the efficiency you have to make. That's going to be there. But what it comes down to is really kind of appreciating the people. And when we started to kind of look at that, you look into your community, because that's where your employees are coming. That's where your staff is coming from. And you need to support the community. And more businesses are starting to look at doing that. So BizTank came about because we got recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine back in 2016 as one of the number 29 out of the up and coming 360 companies or something across the country. And the local high school asked us to come in and tell our story. And, I kind of thought it was going to be just typical kids just glad that they didn't have to listen to the teacher that day. And they're just going to sit there and not ask questions. But as we were going through the explanation of the journey, these kids were into it and their hands were popping up and they were asking all kinds of questions. And at that moment, I realized that although the high school curriculum is important, it's not really getting them to that reality of networking and connecting to career opportunities that these kids have never experienced or won't experience unless society and the business society takes the time to connect them, because the teachers don't have all those connections. We as business people do. So BizTank is all about connecting juniors and seniors in high school from all over the country, as well as, our own community, to a program of introducing them to speakers to share their journey from high school all the way to where they are now, their successes, their failures, so the kids can ask questions and figure out what they want to be when they grow up, because we keep asking them that question before we actually connect them with careers and opportunities. They don't know what all these businesses are that they drive by. They don't know, Jeremy, they don't know your job even exists.
Mm-hmm.
They would have no clue what you do. The people that are watching this right now, if you think about what your job is in the company that you work for, what junior and senior in high school actually knows what your company does or what you do for a job? And that's on us. That's our responsibility to share that information with them. So that's what BizTank is.
Well, my mom still thinks I'm a painter, so.
Well, if you're a painter, I've got some work for you.
Yeah, so if you need any artwork, let me know. So going into there's a lot of risk going around right now. A lot of people are even having to take it, or they got put in the middle of it, and everything's changing. What's your process or your approach to risk, and what advice can you kind of give to people that are on this meeting?
That's an awesome question, because risk prior to COVID-19 was looked at differently. But I've always, if I kind of go through it the way I've always looked at risk to me is always opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because everything that we do that we're not currently doing is risky for us to do. Even if it's just trying a new food on a menu or a new restaurant, there's risk. But the opportunity is there that you might really enjoy it, or it might turn into something for you. So I think now more than ever, people have to start looking at more about the opportunity side of what's going on. So even if you've lost your job through this, what are the things that are going to come out of COVID-19 for job opportunities and things that maybe you'd rather do than what you were doing before? So I always take the look at risk more on the opportunity side than the fear side. Mm-hmm. I just always have.
Excellent. And I just want to stop. So if people do have questions, they can type them in, and then I'll call on them in the chat portion, and I'll call on them if they want to say them out loud, or I can read them. So feel free to message me a question in the chat. You can do it privately, or you can do it to everyone. And I will read those. But my next question really comes around failure and what you learn from it. You're starting a company, and you guys have just been growing and growing and growing. So there has to be some kind of failure in here. Can you talk about that example of a time that just was so challenging, and some decision you made that was ended up being the wrong decision, but what you learned from it, how you took something away and actually pivoted from that?
Failure is something I do on the reg. Yeah. It's literally failure. The big thing about failure, let me put it this way. I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But failure itself is something that ends the opportunity for you, because it's over. There's not a lot of failure that I accept, in the sense that I make a lot of mistakes, and I learn from everything that I do, because I self-assess myself quickly. Even if I have, after this is all over, this conversation, I'm going to say, how did I handle myself? What did I say? Is that something that I should repeat that I thought had meaning, that could benefit somebody else? And I think when it comes down to business, it's okay to make mistakes. And the quicker that you can catch them, and the more that you don't look at them as a failure, the quicker you're going to be able to turn them into something that you're functioning and able to handle. So I shy away from the word failure, not because I've got an ego that can't handle failure, because I can. I've failed before. I started a business with my best friend in high school called Lots of Lops Rabbitry, and we were going to breed lop-eared rabbits. And we built the rabbit hutch, and we had it all figured out. In a 90-degree day, we realized that sheet metal wasn't the perfect the bottom for the rabbit hutch. So that didn't last very long. And I learned a lot from that experience, because I didn't know enough to be successful in the position I put myself in. So the big thing of stopping yourself from failing is making sure you've got the right network of people that are going to help you through tough situations, and realize what you know and what you don't know.
But knowing enough feels like that's a never-ending thing in business.
It is. It's never-ending.
And can you talk about maybe a valuable lesson you learned in the last year that's you kind of maybe keep harping on it, or give us like some kind of lesson that you're like, this is something I want to pass on to people.
And it's something that probably isn't that I just learned in the last year. My dad always told me your greatest strength is knowing your weakness. And that's that can be a little cliche. A lot of people might've heard that, but my dad always said, make sure you surround yourself with people that offset your weaknesses, and make sure the people that you bring on and bring close to you have the ability to take your job someday. Because if you don't do that, you're never going to reach your ultimate, your optimum goal of who you are as a person, as a leader, as a manager of a company. And I think that that's probably something that sticks with me every single day, because the teams of people that it takes to be successful, even in a small company, it's important to have that, surround yourself with those skill sets and talents. And it's the times that we've been challenged at Geneva Supply has been when we didn't have the team built for the project that we had. Back in 2015, we could have gone out of business in 2015 because we switched our operating system, our warehouse management system, and it didn't work. And we went live and we had millions of dollars stuck in our warehouse and we couldn't get it out. And we realize now what we needed to build as a team so that wouldn't happen again, because we were outsourcing and working with developers and everything. And we realized that didn't work for our fast-growing, fast-paced business. And we needed to have those people working for Geneva Supply. So that was something that we learned from hard.
Can you go into the employees? Like, what is it like to work there? How would you say the corporate culture is? Are you hiring?
Well, number one, we're hiring painters. No, just kidding.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. I guess
you got a job. Yeah. So I always say that we're hiring simply because we're always looking for good people. I would say that what Geneva Supply, as far as the teams that we have built, is that we hire people first. Skill sets are important. And in certain aspects of business, like if you're hiring somebody for IT, they've got to know IT.
Yeah.
But when I'm hiring, I've got a digital marketing guy on our team that had never done digital marketing before, but he was wired to be able to handle it. And I hired a person and that had the capabilities. So we surround ourselves with amazing people, and that in and of itself, creates the culture, creates the environment, and creates that, when you get these greatest places to work awards and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's like, how did you win this? And how do you have such an amazing team? You hire culture.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, we had a birthday lunch. Oh, we have a happy hour, where the same 7 people go to it. It's how do you interact with each other on a day-to-day basis? And also realizing if you make a mistake on a hire, you've got to spin that person out pretty quick. Don't hang on to them. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. So be aware of how people are fitting with each other, not just skill sets.
Yeah. Can you talk about adapting? I think that's, as a business owner, I think we had this conversation. It's everything's every day. I mean, you could have 16 different emotions in a phone call. I feel like sometimes with COVID and all the things going on right now, how have you guys adapted to that as your workforce? And how would you recommend other leaders do it too?
I think if you look at with the ever changing, just the rules of what's going on, the safety aspect of what's going on, I think number one, let's put that into a different bucket, because that's just, you have to do those things because you have to care about people, and make sure that your company is positioned to do that. But to keep the atmosphere and the morale where it needs to be, that's something that we focused on hard. Making sure that people understood how much we appreciate what they're doing and every aspect of what they're doing for the company, and making sure that we're there to listen to what their concerns are as they have them, because there's a lot of anxiety going on right now. Yeah. And if you're literally just saying, just do your job, you're lucky you have one, you're going to lose your company when this is over, because people are going to look back and realize how you treated them through this. And I'll tell you right now, I tell anybody this, you could go walk through my entire company and ask any employee, any level employee you want, what they think of Geneva Supply and what they think of the atmosphere. And I'd be okay with having them just say whatever they say, because that's on me. That's on the, upper management and myself and my business partner. That's our responsibility. And that's our accountability on how they answer that question. And we've got really good people, and we've got a really solid atmosphere. And it's because we care about it every day. It's not just something you do monthly.
Right. What about kind of skill sets that you look? I mean, you talked about if you're obviously in IT, but what skills should people be honing in on personally if they're looking? I think a lot of people are gonna maybe have to change careers after this. Are there maybe have to learn new sets of skills? I know that a lot of your work in BizTank and the other stuff is around getting people the ability to connect with people. What would you recommend if people are trying to hone in some new skills during this time to come out of this with a different career?
Yeah, there's a couple things that we have to realize. The reason why we're absolutely swamped right now and blessed to be swamped is because we're diversified with all the different style brands that we handle, and we're lucky that we have essential brands that the e-commerce business is booming on. We're very lucky. That wasn't planned. That was just, opportunities that came that we took, and this situation made it necessary. But I would say, it's one of those things where if I was going to pick a skill set that this is proving to be important, it's digital marketing.
Right.
Digital marketing is probably the hottest thing going, and it's not going to go away because more things are going through social media. How are you finding customers as a company, a store, a manufacturer, a brand? It's all digital marketing. And then once you get on the platform, Amazon has its own digital marketing platform now, its own click to buy, its own pay-per-click, their sponsored product ads, all of it. And that is a huge business. And the thing that's great about it is back in the day, everybody used to say, oh, if you want to make real money, get into sales, because you had control of proving yourself on how much you were making the company and that you could prove it. And digital marketing works the same way. It's very, straightforward. If you run a campaign and it's successful and you can see exactly how much was spent and how much you sold through that campaign and the profitability. So digital marketing is a great way to kind of get into it. And kids nowadays, they're used to seeing what these ads are. They just need to get behind the scenes a little bit to see how and why they're created. It's an amazing avenue. And we started a digital marketing division because of it.
What about something that you maybe thought was important that now turns out to be non-important? I think sometimes when every decision is always the hardest decision or the biggest decision, and then maybe 6 months from now you're like, that didn't really matter. Can you give us an instance on that? I think sometimes we might get caught up in our careers and like, this is so important, I got to do this, or even as business owners, got to do this, and then you realize that it just wasn't worth the time. Can you give us a story about that?
Well, I'll break it down to a long, long time ago when we were all in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything about school is about learning something, taking a test, and getting a grade. And I look back on that and think about how much I thought getting a really good grade, an A on a test, I thought about how important that was. And in the end, those tests that I took, they taught me how to learn. They taught me how to take tests. They taught me the importance of knowledge and all that. But right now, when you look back at it, it's like, it didn't matter. I was a C student, so when I look back at it, it teaches me that in the moment, those situations that are in the moment, we have to keep them in perspective, because that moment is going to be here and gone, and you're going to learn from it if you self-assess how you handled it. So don't dwell on it. So the moments are important to help you learn, but the moments aren't going to take you and make you successful. It's all the moments. It's how you handled it and got through it.
I want to switch gears a little to just selling place. I mean, you guys are in Geneva. Obviously, it's easy to steal people from Rockford because Illinois is not the best. But no, I kid if anybody's on Illinois. But
I'm from Illinois.
I get. But how do you sell place? Do you think about that? Do you guys, when you're trying to attract new people maybe in, or is it more of a retention thing, an attraction thing for you guys? Or, does that come into your conversations a lot as a CEO?
Yeah, I mean, it is, this is really funny because when we started Geneva Supply, we started in that airplane hangar in Burlington, Wisconsin,
Mhm.
and our 4 investors kind of all do all of their business in Walworth County. And I live in Brookfield. I live
Yeah.
50 minutes away, and I'm from the northern suburbs of Chicago, and Delavan is small town USA.
Right.
And I always said, I'm never going to live in Delavan. It's too small. It doesn't have all the conveniences and all the rest of it. And, shame on me, because the fact that we're in Delavan and the community and the connectivity that you can have in that type of environment and that type of employee has been the reason why Geneva Supply has gotten to where it is.
Yeah.
And so although it's difficult to get maybe some stolen talent from people that do what we do,
Yeah.
and to move to Delavan, it's kind of why we've created the ability to work remote, because there's a lot of great cities in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so although Delavan's awesome, it might not be on the front end what everybody thinks of moving to and picking up their family and moving to.
Mhm.
And they might learn to love it. We've got a person that lives in Illinois now that she's moving into the Lake Geneva area because she's worked for us now for, 6-7 years. And she's like, I really like it. So it's something.
Net one for Wisconsin. Good job.
Yeah, not bad, right? I'm
Yeah.
grabbing them for us, but it's important. It's very important to create the atmosphere of the company. We have a great office infrastructure. We won an award for one of the best office environments.
Don't you guys have like a tree house or something? Is that?
Yeah, it's really cool. We've got, I call it, what do I call it? Industrial cottage is what I called it. So, so we built out a new space, and because if you're going to attract talent and have them be there, it's tough to attract them into a cubicle.
Right.
And I'm not a huge fan of the co-working space environment,
Right.
but having areas that people can hang out, but have their own space to focus and function is equally as important. And we build that out. So it's as much as what you're doing with your own atmosphere of space, as much as it is, the community that you're building your business in. And, you've just got to kind of grab onto what matters and focus on that.
What about, one of the questions I hate when people ask me this, but I'm going to kind of ask it to you, but people always ask me my 5-year plan and I never know. And sometimes I think people think oh yeah, 5 years, I'm going to have my whole company figured out. We're going to grow by 70%. And then you realize that's not the way this works. Can you talk about the vision you have going forward, and not just on the number of years?
Sure.
Not putting it in a bucket there, but the vision you have and where you see new opportunities happen for your company, and maybe how you come to those decisions for a vision.
Totally. And I think you're right. I mean, banks like 5-year plans.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Investors.
Maybe that's who's always asking me.
Yeah, investors like 5-year plans. But really for us, it's about strategy of opportunities, because what we've always said is our greatest strength at Geneva Supply has been our flexibility. And the flexibility means we're taking the pain points that manufacturers have, and we're taking that responsibility on and creating an infrastructure for us to handle that so that they don't have to, because it's easier for us to do it than for them to do it. So, but as far as the way we do it, we basically think tank it and come up with ideas based on opportunities as they pop up. And you just kind of always have them sitting there and kind of well thought through, and just wait for that opportunity to act on it. Like my digital marketing division, I had that idea years ago, but to actually act on it when you have the right people that you've talked to, the right, timing as far as financially marketing yourself to be able to handle that. But for Geneva Supply, we know that 18 to 24 months from now, we're going to have another location in the upper Northeast and the upper Northwest, because we know the importance of what e-commerce is doing and having to be closer to the consumer's doorstep, because Amazon's created this Prime 2 days free freight thing that every e-commerce platform is chasing. So we have to be close enough on the UPS and FedEx heat map to be able to hit the doorstep within 2 days, shipping direct to consumer, because most e-commerce businesses don't bring heavy inventory in like Amazon does into their fulfillment centers. Most of them are asking manufacturers to ship on their platform, but ship direct to consumer.
Right.
So we have to get close to the customer's doorsteps.
Awesome. Go into some final questions here and I'll open it up. And again, if you have questions, let me know in the chat box. Otherwise, I will open it up and unmute people. And if we do have some background noise, I'll mute people again, or you can unmute yourself. But can you recap this entire conversation in 3 points that you want to get out to the people listening? Like, what are the 3 things people should take away from this?
I would say the biggest thing is don't stress on perfection, stress on purpose, and always self-assess how you handled not just the big meeting, but every aspect of the process, and really figure out what you're good at and what you need help doing. You might not be able to afford a huge staff or anything in the beginning, but you need to realize what you're good at and what you're bad at. And you can't force a square peg into a round hole and think you're going to be successful in doing it. And I think the other thing is, hire people. Hire people. Don't hire a resume. Hire people, because that's who you're going to be relying on, and that's who is going to be the face to your customers or to whoever you're doing business with. And that's what's going to allow you to grow, or not grow, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks for that. What about any resources or books or speakers you've seen? I know you do a lot of with BizTank, you're bringing in national speakers all the time. I'm sure you've run through a lot of books. Can you give anybody some maybe like recommendation on some books or speakers you've seen to go check out?
So here's the funny thing. I don't read books.
That's great.
And number one, I've never loved reading. The audiobook thing is huge to me right now, but I don't read books, and here I am. I'm in the process of writing 2 books. It was kind of the thing is, when it comes to reading books, it ends up being a situation where it's like going to a specific seminar. I don't want to read something and then just regurgitate what somebody else said. So what I do is I pay more attention to people in the moments that I follow on social media, and I check their Twitter feeds and I see their videos that they might be posting, because they're in the moment and they're immediate quick hit topics. And I function better off of that than some huge strategy that somebody else has created. So there's some key people that I pay attention to daily for different reasons. Number one, Jason Pfeiffer, the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. Follow him, and don't follow him just because he's the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. Follow him because he's so unbelievably intuitive and creative in the way that he looks at things and the way he draws things out of other people that are so beneficial and powerful, that you get so much out of just his connectivity to situations and scenarios. It's amazing. Another one is Jesse Cole. Jesse Cole is the owner of the Savannah Bananas, and he runs his company's called Fans First. And that every single day, if you follow the Savannah Bananas on Facebook, every day you will be uplifted just by the energy of this guy in the yellow tux, and just the outlook of how he looks at life, business, people. Tyson Franklin, a buddy of mine out of Australia, he's just real. He's authentic, and I'm big into that. And then Pete Blank. Pete Blank, look up Pete's Points. Used to work for Walt Disney, has a phenomenal, intuitive look at leadership, and constantly bringing up different aspects of leadership and how to look at things and how other people are looking at you and the importance of that. And it's refreshing. So those are 4 that, like, daily I'm just kind of looking at. There's others, but those are kind of ones that kind of just hit me every single day.
Excellent. Thanks. Any questions here? We're kind of approaching time. I have one more question after this if no one wants to jump in. You can unmute yourself. Again, this is being recorded and on Facebook Live. Anyone want to jump in?
Now, Jeremy, do you see the chats here?
I do. There's a lot of comments. I don't have any questions yet. A lot of comments on how bad I am at interviewing people. No, no, I'm kidding. Any questions out there? Okay. Well, maybe people are thinking of it and they'll write them, and I'll ask one more question before we kind of leave here today. I think as someone I'd like to just go back into careers because this is mentor advice. Have you had mentors, or have you you talked about surrounding yourself with good employees? What about people personally to you that have helped you navigate the path? And I imagine you guys maybe even have an advisory board or something like that. Can you talk about people that are mentoring you right now, and does that ever go away as you grow?
Yeah, no, I have, I am the person I am and the business person I am, both personally and, like I said, in business, because of the people that I associate with. And, if anybody thinks that they got anywhere on their own, they're lying or they're just a fool.
Mm-hmm.
And, it started when I was a kid. Just my mom made me a nice person. My dad made me a business person. And, he was the mentor that really kind of stands out as far as just teaching me a lot about business and the importance and the different strategies and the aspects. But on the daily basis right now, my business partner, Mark Becker, I've never had this conversation with him, but he brings things and makes me think in ways, and I can go to him and talk to him about anything. And that's a mentorship. It's not, they don't have to just tell you how to change or how to be. It can be very casual, and the person might not even know that you look at them as a mentor. But if somebody comes to you enough times to talk to you about things, it's a mentorship relationship.
Right.
Mark Becker's I look at all my employees that work with me on the daily basis. I mean, they're all mentors to me. I don't look at mentorship as somebody that's on a pedestal that has experienced it, and this and that. I look at it as somebody that you can go to and you can collaborate with, and that's somebody that has the ability to make you think differently than when you sat down to talk to them. And that's being open enough to understand that, I think, is important. Younger people need mentors differently. They need them more for guidance. I've got a lot of high school kids in my BizTank program that come to me and ask me to be their mentor. And I say, I'll be your, I have no problem being your mentor, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Right. I'm going to, talk to you about your ideas and your thoughts, because, that's really what it should be: more guidance and more, getting an understanding than it truly is telling somebody, do this because you like math, go be a math teacher or an accountant. That's
Great
not
advice.
mentorship. Yeah.
Great advice. We have a question from Hannah Harris. Says, you mentioned you have a business partner, and how do you guys differentiate roles? Because they're both, I imagine, majority owners.
Yeah, well, this goes back, I'm bringing my dad up a lot. This goes back to my dad saying, your greatest strength is knowing your weaknesses. I am absolutely awful at systems. I could do it. I just don't want to. I'm not passionate about it. And it's not something that my skill sets fall into. So back when this all started, that company that we tried to buy, I was actually running that company, and I hired my business partner, Mark Becker, to run the day-to-day operations, because I knew that wasn't my skill set. That wasn't my strength. And he's fantastic at it. What's great about him, though, is he also has a personality that's similar to mine in the way that we can go into a meeting and handle it in totality. I can talk about operations and he can talk about, sales. And so we have a nice blend, but his skill sets are much stronger. And we realized that early on. So we differentiated ourselves based on what our skill sets were, and kind of where my passion led me, and where my ability on negotiations and building partnerships and hiring teams and, creating that new idea stuff. He can do that stuff. It's not like he can't do it. But we needed him to do the things that he's doing. And he's done an amazing job and built the company where it couldn't have been unless he was doing those things.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jeff. That's all we have. Any last parting shots you want to, any knowledge you want to give the group before we end it?
You know, I think what it goes back to realizing the importance of who we are out in business and understanding the future. You know, it drives me crazy when companies say there's just not good employees out there. It's up to us to start, you know, bringing on talent and nurturing them and getting people to know what you do. Open your doors to your company, to your community, and to future employees. Use social media to not just say what you do, but to show who you are. And that's a big, important thing that a lot of companies are going to start to realize, especially during this time, this whole COVID-19. There's a lot of companies that are going to struggle right now because they didn't open their doors to the community and to people to actually share who they were. They were just sitting there doing what they did. And I think and that's important. So I think people should kind of just take that and run with it, especially during times like this.
That's amazing advice. And I think we'll end it on there because it probably doesn't get any better than that. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for Jeremy. Thanks for having me. I'm here whenever you need anybody that might be in my kind of wheelhouse of stuff, and
Yeah.
Anybody that's that's watching. I love to interact and network with people. So if
People can find you on LinkedIn and things like that.
LinkedIn,
So,
Twitter, and all the rest of it. So
cool. Well, thank you.
awesome, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Thanks
Sure.
everybody that's watching.